Yep, you already know we're back on the scene. Sports
What's up?
back, bro. Yeah, what's up, everybody? What's going on? We just started up just as soon as you get in. So whenever the people see you pop up or they see us both pop up, this is the first time we pretty much have seen each other. There is no pre-production meeting, none of that crap. We just kind of get into it, have a regular conversation because it's about the conversation. We just happen to have some sports to talk about at the same time. So
Usually,
hell,
usually we tell a couple stories or whatever, and we laugh about it. We're like, damn, that should be in the show. So we're just
yeah,
starting now. But now it's funny
exactly.
because we're starting the show, but we're not talking and telling stories.
And that's the truth, man. But hey, just being natural out here. Don't, not being choreographed like a lot of people would do, staging things as people would do. If anything's going to happen, it's going to be legitimate and organic. Let's hope that's the case. And throw some sports in there at the same time. I mean, that's what this is about anyway.
Let's
I
get
mean,
to it.
yeah, let's get to it. Here in Jacksonville, in particular, the weather. Obviously, if you watch it from around the country, the hurricane that's coming through, Jacksonville probably is going to get some of the outer bands down in the Gulf area, which is West Florida, the Gulf area. They're probably going to get the majority, or they're likely going to get the majority of things. So yeah, we have the rain started up. It kind of stopped now, but it's expected to really come down later tonight and tomorrow. So I'm going to try to get my 7K run in before the rain comes down. And if the rain does still come down, I will still be there as long as the wind doesn't blow my black ass away. We're still here.
Run in place if you have to.
you know, I thought about that, man, but I like seeing scenery when I
I
run.
know. I'm
Even
just messing with you, man.
a treadmill doesn't even do it for me, man. I get bored out my mind with the treadmill. But anyway, before people get bored out of their mind with whatever the hell I'm doing, let's talk about what we're here to talk about, man. Things are going on. I mean, the NFL season's here and kind of
Cut
sort
down
of
day.
officially cut down day makes it kind of sort of official now. Down to the 53-man roster. Some names on those rosters have been cut. And I think the Patriots probably made the biggest splash because now Mac Jones is the only quarterback on the roster. He's the lone man in the quarterback room. I mean, they cut Malik Cunningham, a rookie from Louisville, and they also cut Billy Zappe from Western Kentucky after coming from Houston Baptist. But anyway, he was there.
So
I think he was a draft pick of theirs in 2022. He's gone as well. I thought that he would have the opportunity to be a backup
so
for
there
Mac Jones.
there's one of two things going on. Either Belichick has the utmost confidence in his offensive line and Mac Jones will never be touched, which we know is not true, or he already has his eye on someone else and they probably have something in the works.
Yeah,
Because why would you keep one quarterback?
this does seem pretty strange because the way a lot of teams are doing things, they're cutting plays and making trades at the deadline. I know things have changed because of the 17 game season. They're giving a little bit more time for players to make impressions in camps. The cuts aren't coming like week to week as they've done in the past. Everything's getting done right now, about 2 weeks before the season starts. So it gives a player a chance to get on the team, learn the playbook a little bit, and transition into his next team, give them opportunities for the ones who do. Yeah, but the Patriots, I mean, surprises me with that. But I'm still surprised with Zappe having the issues he's having. Looking at how they had taken him last year in the 2022 draft, coming out of Western Kentucky with those ridiculous numbers, I think he had 62 touchdowns against 11 interceptions. I mean, these are just ridiculous numbers here. And it did not translate into the NFL, but you wouldn't expect it to do that his first year. But he did win last season when Mac Jones was out and B. Hoyer was hurt. He came in.
Like I said, Belichick has to have something in the works already. Why else would
Mm-hmm.
he cut, someone they just drafted last year and, as you mentioned, won games? Yeah, he's got to have something going on. Maybe he didn't think the kid was improving at a good enough pace or as expected or as wanted. And he has to have something in the works. He cannot go into a season with one quarterback.
Of
So
course.
he thinks his other option is better, obviously. So they're going to go that route.
But you're talking about now a 17 game season, and it's not unusual right now for teams to have three quarterbacks. He has one. So not only does he have to have a backup for the one quarterback he has, well, going by what some teams are doing in the NFL now with three quarterbacks, he may have to get that third quarterback. I mean, unless Mac Jones is making real progress, and we don't know that and won't know that until the season starts. We don't know what the Patriots are up to, but what made him cut this type of a seemingly promising player? I mean, the only thing I can even think about is he fumbled the ball quite a bit. There were 4 fumbles. He lost 3 of them. And we know those old curmudgeon kind of coaches like Bill Belichick, like Tom Coughlin used to be the old Bill Parcells tree of not fumbling the ball can really cost you a job. And they give you more of the example by cutting you than just telling you.
That could be it. Or it could be Belichick's a defensive guy
Mm-hmm.
and he wants more defensive players on the roster. I mean, he's going to pick up somebody. I don't think this is
Yeah.
really that much of a big deal. Who he picks up, that might be the news. Maybe he didn't hear Trey Lance got traded already. Maybe he thought he's going to go get Trey Lance.
Man, we would like to believe that Bill Belichick, with all the credit we give him for everything he's done and probably didn't do, depending on who you're listening to, we would like to believe that he still has his wherewithal and knows where people are coming from, coming and going. It's his job to know it. That's all it is. But yeah, man, it's looking awkward from that standpoint. But like you said, I'm looking for him to certainly find something or something serviceable for that backup spot. And if he decides to put 3 quarterbacks there, just the same, something serviceable, because, Mac Jones, if he hasn't made that leap that you expect in your 3rd season to let you know that you do have something for primarily the long term, they're in a mess. Especially in the AFC East that we've been talking about.
What about this? What if he went out and got Jameis Winston to replace Mac Jones and Mac Jones becomes the backup?
Now that would be crazy, but it would look. I could see him bringing in Jameis Winston to be the backup with an opportunity, because we all know that Bill Belichick has so much goodwill up there in New England that he can almost do anything. But I could see him bringing in a Jameis Winston as a backup, and if Mac Jones does what he's been doing, whether injury-wise or inconsistent play,
of him being the replacement.
Yeah, with all the intentions of him being the replacement and lighting a fire under Mac Jones's butt. So, yeah, I can see that being a possibility. And I would like that for Jameis Winston, because I still believe he has something to offer the NFL other than interceptions to the other team. So, yeah, he needs a bit of a reprieve in his career. And I think that it's somewhere out there. Maybe in New England, maybe if something happens with Derek Carr in New Orleans, maybe there. But we'll get a chance to see it ultimately. But, yeah, we'll get back to the NFL because, well, college football seems to be happening quicker than that. We just finished week 0. Now we're going into pretty much a full week of college football where, well, the teams are now on your mark, get set, go. And these colleges are
2
giving
days for me, 2 days.
2 days for you, Nebraska. Nebraska is having their own little issues right now. We'll get around 2-2. But, I mean, college football as a whole, Cal and Stanford and SMU maybe going to the ACC. Geographically, it's a mess. We know that now. And we've also talked about how the soccer coach in the ACC didn't want that to happen, because now those players that they may have in that region will be more than happy to live some California living over on the West Coast and not necessarily have to not go to North Carolina or any of the other schools out there. But but the ACC also still having their issues trying to figure out which teams they need there, with Florida State still probably making the threat of not being in the conference if the money isn't split right. Does anything change, in your opinion, with those teams, or with Florida State, when those teams, or if those teams come in?
It's hard to say. I think Florida State probably would like to leave, but that $100 million exit fees, that's no small number. That's a lot of money. And I believe if it wasn't that much, maybe if it was 25 million, they'd already be making moves to leave. So I think if they can work something out where maybe the conference they go to assists with that exit fee, or they can get the ACC to drop it to a low number, I think Florida State's out.
Yeah, I'm thinking the way things are going right now, it will be in Florida State's best interest to stay right where they are, because in addition to going to any of the conferences that may be available to them, like the Big Ten or even the SEC, which is not one of the conferences that would want them, but geographically it makes a lot of sense, is that your road to these bowl games that pay a whole lot of money gets a lot tougher in those conferences. In the ACC, you can kind of pencil in Clemson and you can pencil in Florida State and every now and then something else from the outside, maybe North Carolina. And you know that you have an easier path to get to that big money bowl game in the playoffs or what have you. But in the Big Ten now, with it getting bigger and stronger and the SEC being stronger and getting bigger, the road isn't that easy, and that money is not going to be as easy to come by.
That's true, but if you're Florida State, you consider yourself one of the top dogs in the country,
Mm-hmm.
and you see these conferences growing, you want to be in a major conference. You don't want to be in the stepsister conference, you know. So that's where I'm coming from. That's why I think they'd rather be in the SEC or the Big Ten, because they view themselves as a top program, and they want to be with the top program.
Yeah, they see themselves as a top dog as well. I believe that. But I also believe that they know that the path of least resistance is also good for them as well. And if you could get to the same pot of gold that way, as opposed to going to a tougher road, which would be the SEC or Big Ten, I mean, you would rather be in the ACC and be able to do that. I mean, there's a reason why when Florida State was even more dominant than they are right now, back in the day when they were an independent, they did not go to the SEC. They went to the ACC, and it took years for them to get their first loss in football in the ACC for that very reason, the road of least resistance, and they were able to get the big paychecks and get themselves a national championship because of it. And, now I think that it would be in their best interest to stay in the ACC, and I think it would be in the ACC's best interest to pretty much cave and give Florida State what Florida State wants, so they do stay there and do add Cal and Stanford and SMU for that matter because of that Dallas market and some more oil money from Texas.
Right. Oh, it's definitely the ACC's best interest to keep Florida
Mm-hmm.
State. But what do you think about ESPN putting their bowl games in movie theaters? I didn't read the entire article, so I don't know if they're going to be in movie theaters in addition to the network games, or they're just moving them to movie theaters. Because if
I
they're just
think
moving them to movie theaters, I don't know. New Year's Day, I'm not trying to get up and go to the movies when I can watch 8 games from my living room. I'd be pissed off if I'm an ACC fan. If
they would
if
have been
that's the way it's going to be.
they would have been better off if they would have just make it pay-per-view. I mean, because people could have it in the convenience of their house. They're not used to doing it, but pay-per-view would
Right.
be easy to do. Lower the amount, you'll have more people, and then it probably costs even less. Because if you go to one of these movie theaters, you know it's going to cost to use the movie theaters, and all the equipment is going to take, and then getting the transmission over there and all of the stuff that goes into the logistics of it. It's going to cost more money than it probably would if you're just
Right.
sitting there. It's already connected to your cable, whatever you have, satellite, and just zip it out there, take the money and run. But yeah, I wonder if
I
this is
mean,
more experimental anyway, because this doesn't even sound right.
but
Going to a movie
let's say
theater. Like,
let's say you're a fan of Virginia, and you're gonna go out. Are you gonna go to a movie theater, or are you gonna go to a sports bar with more sports fans?
and that's true. I mean,
Right?
look,
You can get your wings, you can get your pizza, or whatever it is. Movie theater, who wants you? Yeah, you might have some popcorn, you might have a snack, but do you want that to be a meal at the movie theater? You don't want that as a meal.
maybe there's a special menu for something that big. You know, I'll go by what's happened since I've been going to boxing matches on occasion inside the movie theaters. If the pay-per-view price was ridiculous and they're providing it at a movie theater, I go to the movie theaters and there's nothing but other boxing fans there for the ones who show up. And they now, because they've raised the price so much for movies, period, for events like this that cost just as much or a lot more actually, they do have service where there are not waitresses, but other staff inside the movie theater who bring you your food, regardless of what it is. If you want a pizza, they bring it. You give them the order on your phone, and they bring it. They bring it to your seat. And they did that when I went to go watch George Foreman. Now, when I was coming in, she was leaving because I said I would be there a certain time. I was actually there on time. She came early, and they were leaving as I got there. But it's there, so they could probably get it delivered to them, brought to them like Sonic. on the roller skates or whatever. It could be somewhat of
But
an experience,
that
but
will
I don't.
add to the cost of the ticket.
That probably would too. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I don't see why it would, but I can see how it could. Because if you're already employed and you're already making food and you're already doing these runs anyway, I think right now under normal circumstances they're probably not getting extra money for doing this. So why would it be the same during a bowl game or even a national championship game, which is a bowl game? But either way, I just
Why
think
did they charge $10 for $1.15 of popcorn? Dollar
oh
fifteen worth of
that's the
popcorn.
movies because they know they can.
I'm just saying, they're going to take advantage of the situation.
Oh, well, taking advantage of the situation is still you getting your popcorn, your hot dog, your drink for $40 and someone bringing it to you. You can decide if you want to tip them or not, or just curse them out because it still costs too much. So either
Yeah,
way you look
don't
at
eat
it.
yellow snow. There you go.
Oh, God. See, there we go. Man, I hope they don't have any dogs behind the counter, man. Yeah, but that does sound like a ridiculous idea, but it's something that may just happen. I mean, remember, Monday Night Football was on ESPN when it used to be on ABC for decades, and people who just don't have cable weren't allowed to watch it. So now,
Well, see, here in Chicago, they would be on one of the networks because they knew older people didn't have cable. So it was like a simulcast. You could catch it on one of the networks, or you could watch it on ESPN.
oh, so would it be?
I was usually at a sports bar or a bar with friends, so it didn't matter to me.
So
But
was
I
that
just
typically? Was that when the Bears played, or when any Monday night game came on?
well for us, yeah, you're right. It was for when the Bears played. Take it back.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
when the
for the
Bears
local
play, yeah,
team.
they make
Local
it
team.
available for everyone in the market.
Yeah, my bad. You're right.
Yeah. Going back to the NFL, Jonathan Taylor is going to start the season. The Colts, we already know with him and Jim Irsay having their issues going back and forth for, well, the entire offseason. And the often injured now, Jonathan Taylor will begin the season on the PUP list. So I guess if you begin the season on the PUP list, you have to be on at least 4 weeks before you can come and play. So they still haven't found a trade partner. I thought the Dolphins would be that team. That's not what it is.
But if you're the Dolphins and the Colts have a high asking price, make them wait it out and bring that price down. That's what I think. As you've mentioned many times, there's an extra game now, so it's a longer season. If you
Mm-hmm.
get them by week 5, you still get them for 12 games.
Don't know where the Dolphins may end up, as we've already talked about on several occasions. The AFC East
You
may
get them
be
with
the best
fresh
division.
legs.
Yeah, fresh legs. Well, injured legs, fresh legs. He's going to be better than the other running backs who have been taking some punishment by the time he comes in, if it's after the 4th week or in the 4th week. But I think, the Dolphins being in the AFC East, along with the Jets and Buffalo and the Patriots, well, aren't expected to do as much. They should be bringing up the rear in that division, but they're still going to be Bill Belichick coached, and you just never know what you're going to get from them. But nevertheless, I mean, he's on the pup right now, and they didn't get a deal done. So yeah, it leaves something to be desired for the Colts running game with a rookie quarterback, and for the Dolphins wondering what's going to happen in their backfield as the season begins, at least the first quarter of the season for the most part.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But I thought you actually had to be injured to be on the pup list.
Well, he is coming off of injury. I mean, and
Well,
that
I
injury
guess
is the
that's true.
reason why he's been limited in training camp. So I guess, there's always going to be some kind of a loophole. So as long as there's going to be a loophole, take advantage of it. So I guess there's a loophole to where because he was injured, he was
Yes.
rehabbing from injury, they let him into camp, but kind of tentatively, you could probably pull the card. And that seems like what they're doing right now. But hey, the Colts, going into it with a rookie quarterback, you would like to have a running back to take a little bit of a pressure off of him. Anthony Richardson, I mean, like most rookie quarterbacks, I'm not expecting him to have any type of a special year, but I expect him to be especially bad for that matter. And somebody
Yeah,
like Jonathan Taylor would have helped.
yeah. A good running game really helps a young quarterback. You
Absolutely.
know, if those play actions don't work because you're averaging 1.9 yards a carry, those play actions are not going to work.
Oh, nah,
So,
they're going to
uh,
laugh at you.
right.
And,
So
so
yeah,
go.
that A good running game is essential to a young quarterback, and so is play action. They go hand in hand. If you can't run the ball, the play action is not going to work.
Nope.
And if your quarterback has to drop straight back and the defense can pin their ears back, come after him, it's not going to be very pretty.
No, he's going to need that athleticism they've been talking about since he's been drafted, or even before the draft. Anthony Richardson, that is, using that 4.4 speed and that vertical leap and all of that. He's going to need that if they pin their ears back and come after him, because he won't even have time to read the little bit of defense he may know in the early going. So it's going to be tough sledding for him. And I'll tell you, you have a quarterback who's a rookie who needs a running back, and it's always good and vital for a young quarterback to have a running game. But how about the rich getting richer, at least in that way? Aaron Rodgers, the old curmudgeon, the old former champion, the NFL multiple-time MVP, he has Dalvin Cook, a new addition to the Jets running game, and Dalvin Cook thinks the Jets can win the Super Bowl this year. Come on now. As a Jets fan, I would like for that to happen, but I've been around since 1972, and it has not happened, and I've heard a whole lot of that type of rhetoric.
Let's see him get that Super Bowl 2024 tattoo on his shoulder to see if he really believes it.
If he really believes it.
I mean, he's a good weapon. How much does Aaron Rodgers really have left? At one point, he's going to fall off the cliff. Yeah, he's doing his thing against the Bears, but he doesn't get to play the Bears twice a year no more.
Nope. And he's in the toughest division of football right now.
And when he got to the playoffs, did Aaron really do Aaron things? It's been a while.
It's been some time, but this team that the Jets have now was made to win right now. So the pieces and parts that in some cases were selected specifically by Aaron Rodgers is what they have and can run with. And this is the team that Dalvin Cook believes could go to the Super Bowl and win it. When you get someone like Aaron Rodgers and he does all of this negotiating to get his price down so that you have more money to be flexible to add the pieces he needs, well, this is primarily his team. He's an assistant GM right now. He's assembled this team, and anything less than
all LeBron's fault. All LeBron's fault.
Ultimately, it comes back to LeBron. I'll get out of here with that.
He's the player GM. He's been player GM for about 10 years now, hasn't he?
I mean, look. When Brett Favre came to New York, there were the same kind of expectations. But yeah, Brett Favre didn't do this. I mean, once Aaron Rodgers came, he was picking and pointing at people that he wanted on the team. He would just mention their names, and ultimately they'll end up on the team within a week. You know what I mean? So we know the type of power he has, and Woody Johnson willing to spend the money that he was willing to spend. And then Aaron Rodgers showed he's a team player by taking the pay cut and allowing the team to have more flexibility to bring in more players. And he's staying for an extra year. So that's, also something to look at. But yeah, I mean, what is Dalvin Cook supposed to say?
Exactly. But honestly, Rodgers may not have to be MVP Aaron Rodgers for them to do big things. With that defense, could be a matter of just, hey, you make a play here, you make a play there, score enough points. We win 20-17, 17-14, 17-13, whatever. He may not have to put up 30 points if that defense does its job. So he may not have to be the MVP Aaron Rodgers anymore.
Oh, no.
Just make plays, get the big first downs when needed.
Yep, move the chains. You have the running backs to continue to move the chains on the ground. That defense, if it does anything what it did last year, that should be an elite defense in the top 5 in the NFL. And, defense continues to win championships. Even in this era of wide receivers or offensive football, wide receivers and quarterbacks, where running backs are being devalued. So, yeah, the Jets have something to look forward to. As a Jets fan, I do have something to look forward to, but I've been here before, man. I mean, I've been around since 72, and I've heard a lot of rhetoric, and I've seen zero results, and I'm hoping that it happens before I'm kicking buckets around here. So and that's a real possibility. But, hey, you know what? Everyone has the same thought process, at least the better teams going into the season. They don't go in thinking that it's hopeless. Everybody, fan bases and all, they like going into a season knowing that there's a chance because, you know what, there is a chance. These are grown men out there. And there was a chance for Calais Campbell, if you didn't hear about it, he and Mac Jones. I mean, going back to the Patriots quarterback for a minute, they're having issues because Calais Campbell, he doesn't mind the trash talk. He just says he thinks Mac Jones has gone overboard with his trash talk. I mean, in the heat of battle, how does trash talk get out of hand and to the point to where a player is upset, but is probably not bad enough to where he didn't go to the media to specifically say what happened?
I don't know. It could be a matter of Mac Jones trying to fire himself up or trying to fire up his offense. Maybe somebody said something to him and he got triggered. There are times where I play different sports. You know, I used to play football on Sundays with friends.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go to other towns and play against other people. You know, if my friend talk junk to me, it's all good natured. You know, he
Yeah.
knows things about me. I know things about him. So, you know, there's good banter back and forth. But somebody you hardly know starts talking junk. Well, now you could get triggered. And then people are looking at you like, man, why are you going crazy? No, fuck that dude. He's talking shit. Let's go. Let's go. So it could just be that type of thing for Mac Jones. You know, he just got triggered.
I think, Calais Campbell was the one who got triggered, and Calais Campbell, who played here in Jacksonville, was a huge part of the community, a huge part of the team when he was here. He's a huge man at 6'8", I believe. And so, but anyway, he's the one
But
who's
if he's
upset with
saying Mac
Mac
Jones
Jones.
was the one talking junk, something
Yeah.
happened to make Jones go off.
Well, I mean, he says that was his natural trash talk, and I know now that it's in the open to a degree. Mac Jones is saying, yeah, I did say those things, but there was really nothing meant by it. Well, Calais Campbell was like, you know what, you can talk trash with the best of them, man, but I think you went too far. That's leading me to believe, or anyone who reads it or heard about it to believe, that he might have said something that was way outside of bounds. But in this age we know of, that if it was something way too bad, it wouldn't just be between those two. Even someone like Calais Campbell, who's always been even keeled and cerebral, may have said something to the media so that it could bring real attention to it and something could be done. I mean, you keep up with the NBA like anybody. You know the trash talking that can get bad. I mean, Kevin Garnett, the nonsense he used to say about people during his trash talk days and other NBA players. MJ probably just as bad as anybody else as well when it came to trash talk. But
I
they
just
get upset
question
about it, they play harder.
why would it bother anybody? It's Mac Jones. You'd be like, dude, what have you done? How many playoffs games have you won? Have you gone to a Super Bowl? I mean, you're
Nope.
not Joe Burrow. You're not Pat Mahomes. You're not Jalen Hurts. I mean, shut the hell up.
I think the issue might have been because Calais Campbell did injure Mac Jones. I think he's the one who knocked him out of the game. He injured his ankle, and that's why Mac Jones is running his mouth. But it's still trash talk, and that's probably relegated to the football field. And I think even then, it can get bad. It can get rancid out there. Even in boxing, it can get rancid before a fight. You can say everything you don't mean to say, and you're only doing it to get under someone's skin. And I do mean everything. So nothing's off the table. And on the football field where there isn't a microphone, at least most times within earshot of what people are saying, I can see him just saying whatever it is he's saying. Obviously, it wasn't too derogatory because other teammates didn't step in. But this is what it seems to be. And the irony about it, when Calais Campbell did play in Jacksonville, Mac Jones was here in Jacksonville. He grew up in Jacksonville. He went to Bowles High School. I watched him play as a high school kid. So he says it, and I think he throws it out there in jest. Hey, I watched you play when I was a kid. Kind of insinuating, hey, take your old ass on. But he said that's pretty much what he said. I admired the guy because Calais Campbell is highly respected here in Jacksonville. Even when he left, he's still one of the few guys who are highly respected who's not an original Jaguar. Someone who came from the Arizona Cardinals to Jacksonville, stayed for a short time, but made his name known in the community and on the team with Saxonville making all the sacks he made here.
Yeah, I think he comes off a little bit weak, man. I mean, there's
It
trash
does.
talking in a lot of sports. You know, there's trash talking legends, and people tell stories about Larry Bird. But people, when they tell the stories like Xavier McDaniel, if he'll tell the story about Bird talking junk to him, he's not crying about it.
Nope.
He's saying, man, this dude, he said XYZ, and then he did XYZ. He's
Yeah.
telling, he's giving him praise for his trash talk. You know, Reggie Miller talked a lot of trash. You know, hear people saying, "Oh,
Reggie
Reggie
Miller,
said
yeah, you forget about
said
that guy.
Reggie said such and such, man. He crossed the line." And you know, you handle it on the court, you handle it on the field.
Yep, but these guys, it's a different world we're living in now. And you're talking about Mac Jones watching Calais Campbell since he was a kid. I mean, you're talking two different generations now. But it's not the guy from the new generation who's upset, who you would expect to be upset. It's Calais Campbell, the old school guy. But yeah, I guess they'll settle their differences at some point on the field at some point this season. But let's know on the record they do have beef. Defensive linemen and Mac Jones. It's not the same as Warren Sapp and Brett Favre going back and forth. But it may, if they do meet up, because I haven't watched their schedule or looked at it, we don't know what's going to happen. But it's going to be something to see those two come together. So staying in the NFL, more changes happening, but some things weren't so surprising. CJ Stroud, another rookie quarterback, along with Bryce Young, a rookie quarterback, and Anthony Richardson, who we've mentioned from the Colts, a rookie quarterback, getting their opportunities to start and lead their organizations right away. No time to wait. Just throw them in the fire. See what the hell you have right now. CJ Stroud for the
Let's
Texans.
take off the training wheels. Get out there, and let's see what you can do. Trial by fire, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
But,
I
but is
mean,
that a good or
a
bad
lot
thing now?
a lot of teams, you know, they have a backup who'll start because they have a rookie quarterback, and things go south right away. That backup can't get the job done. They're 0-3, they're 1-4, and then they move in the middle of the season to put the rookie quarterback in there. Maybe these coaches just don't want to go through that process. You know what? If we're
No.
gonna put them in week 5, week 6, let's just put them in there now.
Well, if
What's the
they're making
difference?
this kind of money, the money's, I think, is a bigger issue too. You want to see where you're going. You want to see where you're at sooner rather than later. You don't want to say after this season, at least in their cases, that, man, I wonder if we'd have put him in a little earlier, we would have known more and been further along his progress right now than we would be later on. Like right now, Ron Rivera is talking about, I should have played Sam Howell earlier. You know what I mean? I don't think they want that. We're seeing how Sam Howell looks like he's going to be a solid quarterback and has potential to do so much better. But I think these coaches don't want the same. They don't want to miss out on, well, we got the next best thing. And you see the success of someone like Justin Herbert, how he just came on the scene and just showed up. And they want their version of Justin Herbert. They want these quarterbacks, that are going to lead their team. And no, Joe Burrow coming in like he didn't skip a beat from college and just setting up shop and just doing his thing. They want to see this rather now than later. And CJ Stroud, you know what? Hey, I saw him at Ohio State. I looked at the weapons he had, fantastic weapons. Well, you're in the NFL with fantastic weapons, but there are also fantastic weapons on the other side, and those windows are a lot smaller. It's going to be interesting there. Deshaun Watson was just there not too long ago. Now CJ Stroud is there, being asked to do the same thing. And Deshaun Watson, in his second year in Cleveland, asked to do better than he did last season. I think he got a mulligan, but this year, what do you expect from Deshaun Watson? A lot of the same nothing, or is he just limited because we really never got to see how good he could be? We saw that he was pretty good.
Right. You know, he should have his legs under him now. You know, he missed time and came in trying to get back into the swing of things. If he doesn't perform this year, then I don't think there's no excuses. Put it that way.
None.
He either gets
That's
it done this year, performs better, gets back to the level he was, or if he doesn't, well then the Browns they're going to have to look for another quarterback.
wow. And all that money they gave him. I mean, and it's all guaranteed. When they gave him that guaranteed money, I was like, these guys know something in the court system, because at the time they gave it to him, I'm just thinking, that's when all of that stuff was going in. Everything was indecisive. We didn't know what was going on and who the heck was going to guarantee him money under those circumstances. And I figured they knew somebody somewhere to give him that kind of money. And well, the way things turned out so far, I mean, as good as they can get, at least for the circumstances that they're under. And if Deshaun Watson doesn't show improvement, or at least show what he had done at the very least when he was at his best in Houston, I think it's money wasted. I like to believe that he has that potential, that he is that good, but man, we can only tell by how you play, not how I feel you should do or what you might have done in the past.
Right. But, another year in that system, um, he should be better. I don't see why
I'm
he
thinking.
why he won't be. But again, if he's not performing, Cleveland has a big problem.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll be rooting for the guy. You know what I mean? I know with the circumstances
I don't
of
know
which
if
he's
I should or not, man, because the allegations, man, those were some crazy allegations.
they are. You know what? And
But
I'm not
I
one of
mean,
these people that say there's no way. They're just after him. Man, when so many people come after you,
47 times, 52 times, however many it was. I
somebody
mean,
got to be
it
telling the
wasn't
truth.
once or twice.
No, exactly. Someone has to be telling the truth.
But
It's kind of like Bill
innocent,
Cosby. As much as we love this guy, man,
innocent
all of
until
these
proven
people have
guilty, though. So
yes, and he's not guilty. He's not guilty as of now. At least with Mike Vick, we knew there was a guilty verdict and he paid his debt to society. And I still understand why Peter did what they did, even after he paid his debt, because he did it. So there was no speculation. And they're still upset about it. And they have a right to be upset about it. The court of public opinion can be what it is. But right here, nothing has happened that's going to uh, get him locked up, or there's still a cloud there. So you can just roll your dice and hope things work out the best they can, whether it's him getting locked up or the women being called, whatever they're going to be called for not telling the truth, if that's the case. But yeah, I'm kind of rooting for the guy. I'm not ashamed to say I'm rooting for Deshaun Watson. I thought he was a good guy coming out of Clemson. I can't
I'm
say I think he's a good
conflicted,
guy. I
man.
think he's a good football player.
I'm conflicted, just like R. Kelly. R. Kelly has some good songs, man, but I'm conflicted. I don't know if I can play them no more. You know what I mean?
Oh, Kelly.
I mean, I might listen to him by myself, but you don't want people turning their heads looking at you because you're playing R. Kelly.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Depending on where you are, they
Like,
will
what,
look at
man?
you,
This is a good song.
and they want to fight, man. Well, we see how you get down. You know what I mean? We see how you get down. All right, they
Hey,
just don't speak
quick
to you.
story. I don't know if I ever told you this. When I was covering fights for the website,
Mm-hmm.
it was Acelino Freitas versus somebody I can't remember in Chicago,
All right.
and they announced R. Kelly was going to sing the national anthem. And he comes out. Now this is around the time the videotape had come out. The entire place booed him. He
Man.
comes out. He's got a towel over his shoulder. Grabs the microphone. This man sang that damn anthem better than I ever heard anybody sing in my entire fucking life. And when he was
Whitney
done,
Houston.
all these people that were booing him and calling him every name in the book gave him a standing ovation. So when people say he's the Pied Piper, that motherfucker was the Pied Piper. I'm telling you, that dude could fucking sing.
I tell you, you know what? There's no question in his singing ability. It's his morality that people have a problem with. But I tell you what, man, if your voice can change a crowd that hates you, I mean, you got a gift right there, man. I mean, Whitney Houston had a gift with singing, and people who didn't like her, and they started not liking her after her voice went away, and they couldn't get their money back. Yeah, but R. Kelly,
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're
he was.
calling him Chester, effing
Oh, I
this,
can only
effing
imagine.
that. I mean, all kind of things. And then the dudes that were yelling it, like, damn, that dude can sing, yeah, woo! I was like, you just were calling him Chester. Yeah, but did you hear him sing? Yeah, I heard him sing. That
Yeah, I
still
heard
didn't change
Chester.
what he did.
I know, right? I heard Chester saying he can still blow. That's what they were saying. And I tell you, man, now you got him crying all the time. He's in a whole mess of things. And, oh my God, I mean, God, and you know what? That's a nice transition because we're talking about crying singers. We can also talk about
Man, but
crying
just to have a
players.
TV show called Surviving R. Kelly, I mean, woo,
Yeah, exactly. Surviving R.
that's
Kelly. This is the
that,
society we
that,
live in now, and we're enjoying it for better or worse. And Stephon Diggs, the other crier, he's now trying to sabotage the Buffalo Bills season. We've talked about him as well when he was
since
quiet
we
one
started
time.
this podcast, we've been talking about him.
Yeah, he gives you a little leg, pulls it back, like, oh, I'm just tripping. Oh, I'm not really that upset. Well, we've spoken, and now it's getting closer to the season, and we've talked about that just the other day. He's starting to show up again. I want to trade. I mean, this is a team that has a real possibility of not only going to the Super Bowl, but winning it. And if they could get past Kansas City and maybe even this year, the Jets and out of the AFC East, you're talking about blown this whole thing up because you are one of their best players. You are their most dynamic offensive player outside of the quarterback, Josh Allen.
It's unfortunate, man, because as we've talked about, the Bills are a highly talented team. They have Super Bowl aspirations.
Yep.
And this guy, from day one when he disappeared without a word, has been a problem. And if they get off to a bad start and maybe 2-2, 2-3, 1-4, it's going to get worse. He's going to really want to get out of there, because if they're losing games and he's probably not putting up numbers, he's not going to be happy. He's not getting the ball. He's not scoring touchdowns. Yep. He's just going to be. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, and players like him, I think the blueprint is out there. If you don't get your way, or if you already have issues going into the season, it gives you the right to do the same thing and up the ante once the season starts and becoming a bigger distraction to your team. You know, I just heard or read about Antonio Brown. You know, he's not in the league anymore, but Antonio Brown saying he has CTE. Now, I don't know if this is a legitimate quote from him. I mean, we're supposed to find out if you have CTE or not post-mortem, not while you're alive. So he's kind of diagnosing himself of saying, you know, I got CTE, and pretty much saying this is why he's been acting the way he's been acting. Well, I thought, and I think many have thought the same thing, but we're not going to know that part of it until that time does come. You know, and you know that hit that he had taken since against Cincinnati, he hasn't been the same since then. But yeah, that's something I just threw out there now that we've talked about Stephon Diggs and his likelihood of blowing up and acting crazy and being a distraction for the Buffalo Bills during a possible Super Bowl run.
I want to know who's in his ear. Like, is he talking to somebody? Is somebody validating him, his thoughts, his opinions about what he's doing? You know, like, who said, yeah, that's a good idea, ask for a trade? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You know, did he just come up with it all on his own? But as far as CTE, I'm not sure what Jim McMahon has, but he has something where, you know, he gets the fluid drained. And he says when it gets drained, he feels like so much better. Like he doesn't get the headaches and stuff. So I think as medicine advances, they may be able to determine, maybe not CTE exactly, but they can see certain things going on within your brain structure.
Oh yeah, I believe so. I mean, you do the usual CAT scan like boxers do. You know, another irony here is how we don't hear a whole lot about boxers and CTE. We hear more about the NFL, and I know it's because players are bigger, and at least in boxing, you have weight classes. Even though some people kind of cut weight and gain a whole lot of weight, but you still generally have weight classes. You don't ever have a scenario in boxing to where someone's 140 pounds and their opponent is 200. You know what I mean? In the NFL, you can have a 200-pound running back and a 300-pound defensive lineman go head up with him, and it's all fair. You know, so there's a difference there.
Or someone take out the punter on the punt return.
Like Sean Taylor did in a Pro Bowl. Come on now. You couldn't even wait. Yeah, but yeah, I can see how that, you know, the CTE, you know, it's something they know. Obviously, the doctors are still getting advancements on it and trying to figure this out. I'm sure part of figuring it out is trying to do it while they're alive, so you can be a little bit more, not proactive, but catch it at an earlier stage and try to help it along as best you can. But yeah, but Antonio Brown, and I'm not going to say that Stephon Diggs is on the same thing, but I'm just saying he's acting crazy right now. All of a sudden, I don't remember him being like this before, trying to be a distraction to either team he's played on.
He could just be really pissed off. Who knows? I mean, he was upset after the playoff game, and maybe he's still not over it. I mean, obviously he's not over it. He's asking for a trade. So, no, whatever the issue was, they haven't worked it out. It hasn't been resolved. They haven't ironed it out. I don't know if he and Josh Allen have talked. If they have, it's not. They didn't come to a resolution. He's not happy, obviously, so he wants out, and it's unfortunate because this is going to cause major problems for that Bills team.
Oh yeah, exactly, and especially in the AFC East, where it's going to be on paper going into the season one of the best divisions, if not the best division from top to bottom in the NFL this upcoming season. But even with all that said, hey, we can come to an end here, but Gilbert Arenas has something coming his way. Your hitness hasn't been up lately, man. We got to get somebody out there. And I think Agent
right.
Zero probably deserves the ire.
Yeah, Agent Zero, 0 rings. Ooh, I almost said something I didn't want to say. All right, so Gilbert Arenas, he says he picked Steph Curry over Magic Johnson as the greatest point guard. That's all fine and dandy. That's well. He's entitled to that opinion. I'm a Steph Curry fan. I wouldn't pick him over Magic. Maybe if I'm putting together a team, I might pick Steph Curry. But if I'm ranking top point guards, I'm going Magic all day. But my issue is with his reasoning. He said Magic inherited what did he say? He said he joined a dynasty. He did not join no dynasty. What are you talking about? If you're gonna discredit Magic, at least do it with facts. He did not join the dynasty. The year they got bounced in the second round. The year before that, they got bounced in the first round. That's with Kareem on the team, with Norm Nixon, I believe Jamal Wilkes and Adrian Dantley. That's as far as they could get. Magic comes to town. They go to the finals. Kareem gets hurt in game 6. Magic drops 42 and 15 to beat Dr. J and the Philadelphia 76ers as a rookie. As a rookie. And they win the championship. If Magic doesn't step up, they probably lose game 6. They lose game 7. And then who knows? History is totally different. You can't say he joined the dynasty. They didn't have no championships. You're not a dynasty with 0 championships. You should know that, Gilbert Arenas. You have 0 championships. Get your shit together, man. If you're going to pick somebody, pick them. But don't create some bullshit narrative to discredit an all-time great player like Magic Johnson. Somebody should take the microphone away from his ass because Gilbert Arenas is talking too much shit about too much people and not making enough sense. I'm out.
Well, Agent Zero, you're on the clock or off the clock. You're off the pot for that one. Hey, what has he been doing lately, man? This guy's been talking about everyone he can possibly think of. And then you have all of these people. You have him, and then you have Rodman still talking nonsense. Robert Horry, of all people, have to put these people in their place about the way they've been talking.
I don't know. Like I said, this isn't the first off the wall thing he said. Again, if you want to pick Steph number 1, that's fine. But don't discredit Magic and make up some bogus narrative.
Yep, exactly. So with that said, the hit list is now a thing of the past. For this episode, you will be able to find it in our hit list playlist. So make sure you check that out, Bias's hit list and all the other hits he's made in the past. We're just putting them in the playlist so that the cops don't come get us for mowing these guys down because he's been getting after them lately. Yo, there's more for that. There's more of that to come. Just check it out. Go to the playlist. And this Sports Bag Bros podcast. You'll see what episode it is when I throw the thumbnail down there. So don't worry about that either. I'm Bias. He's Trav. We'll catch you again tomorrow.
Deuces.